My name is Anne Cuthbertson. I'm 32.
And what had been your profession years ago?
Oh, done many things. But I suppose for the longest time I was modelling and doing extra work and fashion shows and commercials and music videos.
So you had a very fast lifestyle, didn't you?
Yes, I loved fast cars, and I loved the fashion industry and the TV industry and the film industry, basically. I loved being around it. Yes, it was good. And then I was doing rather well, actually, like, you know, when the checks overlap, you know, the agencies are sending you for things and you're too busy and things like that. I'll have another job. Well, it got to that stage, and then I fell really ill. So my profession had to... Well, I had many different illnesses, like frequent migraines and bad stomach aches, and like a year before I had to completely stop working, I had been diagnosed with cervical cancer, and they gave me laser surgery, and it came back again. So like a year later I had it again, so that was no good. But there was many things. I suppose the migraines and weight loss were the worst ones, as well as just the most chronic stomach aches and terrible pains.
Very inspirational to talk about organic food today in an environment like this.
And it is worth the money, you know. People say, oh, it's too expensive, but it's not too expensive, you know. The goats love these. Feed these to the goats, they go crazy.
These, huh? Well, they know something that we should know, right?
Yeah, to eat nature.
The greens. I agree, it's worth it.
It's so beautiful. How come people can live without being surrounded by this? Why is it that we can live without it, you know?
Yeah.
It's really sad.
Yeah. Well, we're getting back to that.
Yeah, everyone's going back to the trees and leaving the cities, I hope. Want to sit
maybe
down?
We can walk through here a little bit and see
Yeah.
what else you have. Just beautiful flowers. It doesn't take much effort.
I know, you just
And
got to
you
want to
can
do
grow a lot
it. You've got to want to be self-sufficient, you know, and go out to the garden and get your breakfast.
Yeah,
you know?
just pick it off the tree.
Just go to the garden and get lunch, and it seem so natural though, just to do that.
So many varieties of fruit and vegetables that we can just grow and eat
I
and
know.
enjoy. And
It becomes a way of life instead of a diet.
yeah,
You know?
Yeah, and
This
you're
is the
getting the
beauty.
exercise by being out in the garden.
Yes, definitely, definitely. By being out in nature and just being at peace with knowing that you're doing the right thing, because it's the way to be.
And it must
Just
bring
go back
peace
to
your
nature.
body too,
Yeah,
doesn't
it does. I used to be so hectic as a person, you know. I had a lot to do and I'd be stressed and I would be... But now I just feel that I can find a centre and be focused and be concentrated. And, you know, if I'd been organic when I was a child, maybe my mother would have been more proud of me, maybe I would have done better at school, you know, things like this. I wouldn't have been late for my jobs and, you know, all this things that people, being tired all the time and not being able to be awake as much as you want to be awake, and feeling, I never knew what it was to feel healthy, and I know this world is full of people that also don't know what it is like to feel full of nature and actually eat life, eat these living foods, you know, instead of eating a dead animal or something.
Do you feel that your sense of smell and your perception has increased?
Yes. Everything increases, and some things decrease. The bad things decrease, and the good things increase. Yeah, it's mind, body, and soul. All three suddenly enjoy this new feeling, because the soul is connected to the body. If the body is sick, then I'm afraid your spirituality is going to be a bit dead too, you know? And we need it, we need our spirituality, which is something I never recognised because I was too full of poisons and too full of toxins.
Well, it's a spirituality that comes very natural. It's not something you have to work for. It's
exactly.
Not something you have to theorize
you can't learn it.
You just feel it, you know it, because you're living it.
Yeah, that's
way.
the beautiful thing. It's something you cannot learn, it just happens. And when you come all the way from being a complete junk food addict and complete overeater and you know, someone who drinks a lot or whatever, when you come from that bad amount of bad habits and then go all the way eventually within a span of time that is safe come to feeling like you're full of only raw foods and nothing that's been cooked. It's just unbelievable. If I could bottle this high, I would be a millionaire. I tell you. Serious.
And you bottled the essence of eternal youth.
Well, yes, if anyone takes it into their own hands to heal themselves and to use nature for what it was meant to be used for, they'll find that they never imagined such treasures. They never imagined they could feel a certain way and achieve so much, and maybe find the answers to all the things that are bothering them, which is what I experienced. You know? I hope everyone else can. I've heard other people say the same thing, so I know it's not just me. And at the time, I didn't know that the world knew of such a thing called raw foodism. I didn't understand there was such a thing as raw foodism. All I knew was that if you stop eating the meats, and if you stop eating all the processed foods and the refined sugars and the chemical additives and the poisons and the colorings and all the bad things we eat, when you stop eating that, something happens. Your body suddenly starts becoming different and you're thinking differently, and that enables you to be able to learn something that you couldn't learn before, because now your mind is more open because you've stopped filling your body with toxins. So it was a gradual progression. I think if I'd read a raw food book 7 years ago, I don't think I would have quite got it.
But what drew you to this?
Well, I realised that after quitting so many foods, finding replacements to start with, that's the transitional side of the diet, find replacements for your favourite tofu and all that sort of thing. And once you have your replacements, then you realise that, okay, I just want more fruits and vegetables, and your body starts asking for more fruits and vegetables. Once you see your addictions are controllable, when you see that you're actually not craving so much junk food and your body's actually asking for good foods, then you realise that you felt better than ever. You've never eaten this way in your life, and you suddenly feel better than ever. And you just take it further, and during your life, books will come your way, people will come your way, you know, whatever information comes to you, however it comes to you, it does. Once you embark on the path with a good intent to heal yourself, you get so much help that you couldn't have imagined could happen.
Yes, more people come into
It's
your
magic.
life to support
It's magical.
you that way.
Yeah. So by the time I realised I was eating nothing but vegetables, and I felt so amazing. I was like, wow, I cannot believe I need to go to a hot country. So when I went to a hot country in '96, which was America, I wanted to find the hottest part and just be really in the sunshine, because being in England, you don't get any sunshine.
Yes.
I needed this.
Yes.
And that is where I came across raw foodism, and the fact that it had a name, and it was a lifestyle and the way of life of the real Rastafarian. I got a book, it was called The Way of Life, Rastafarianism, by Tracy Nichols, I think, and in there she writes about how the rest of all the other civilizations are ruining themselves because they're killing their very existence, which is the earth and what grows from it. And so I realized, my God, I eventually got to the state that I was naturally meant to be. Just eating raw foods, it's enough. And then I kept it up, and then I think after about a year, it's hard to actually add up how many times you were raw, because you tend to do it for a week and then you might go for a week and then have a little bit of rice or,
just
or a
like
baked potato.
Every
Or,
transition requires a little back and forth.
to be 100% is one thing, and to be 99 or below is another thing. It really is.
You have to be willing to forgive yourself.
Another
and not
thing.
Go too
Oh,
strongly
yeah.
into something. Like
You have to want to do it.
Yes.
This is the thing. People shouldn't decide to go raw and then be worried that, oh, they came off it. It doesn't matter, you know, what they're doing is brilliant. But 99% or under is one thing, and 100% is another thing. It really is quite far apart, the feeling.
It is a big difference,
Yes,
isn't it?
yeah.
Yes.
But anyway, they're both amazing, but one's just a little bit more amazing. And it doesn't
It's
matter.
like reaching the top of Everest.
Yeah, totally. And realising you can fly, you know, it's like, wow. So, I figure maybe after a year, you are strong enough to be 95% all the time, maybe. But I found that I liked to go backwards and forth, because I really appreciated what happened to my body. Because when you go for a week and you actually don't eat all raw, then you realise, what's happening to you, say the bad stomach ache or a little bit of indigestion or maybe a headache or maybe some digestive difficulties normally.
You feel the effects pretty quickly
Yes,
too, don't you?
absolutely, because when your body is so highly tuned, as it were, like an engine, you've put the right fuel in it and it's working the best it can.
Exactly.
Once you put something in it that slows it down, then of course you're going to feel
you
it.
start getting the knocks and the pings.
Yeah,
and, you
absolutely.
know.
Some people actually say in the beginning they can't get used to this feeling of being so wow and just being, they call it a high, and they have to have a potato to come down, you know, and it's quite normal. I hear people say this in the restaurant to me sometimes. I need a potato to bring me down, you know. And when people first experience this raw food high, they actually feel like an alien. They say to me, I felt like an alien. I felt like everybody's different and I'm experiencing something that nobody else is. And I say to them, don't worry, there's going to be communities, there's going to be lots of things popping up where like-mindedness and the same way of life is going to be shared by many, many people, and this is going to be hopefully one of the ways of life. And I even know of families now that have children who are teenagers that are adopting this way of life.
That's amazing.
And they won't settle for a partner that isn't this way of life, which is a beautiful thing.
It is.
It gives me chills to think that, oh, they're starting to make the super race, you know, how we should have been, the natural way.
Yeah.
Just natural human beings. We've lost sight of what natural human beings should behave like and should look like and should be like.
Right, loving
Because,
and caring for each
yeah.
other, and you could feel it too. Okay, we're ready. Look at these marvelous flowers.
Look.
Amazing, amazing.
I can't see you. Say it again.
These are amazing flowers.
I know.
aren't they?
Talk about nature's origami.
Remarkable. Yes.
Wow. So, the papaya looks ready to eat.
Yes.
I can't wait.
3 of them are ready to eat.
Uh-huh.
And beautiful lettuce. I can just pick it and eat it right now.
I know, it's so beautiful, isn't it?
This is a lovely garden.
Aloe for your sunburn.
Yes.
I don't know what this is, but it looks like some sort of cotton.
Yeah, maybe so.
It could be. Well, I was almost about to give up, and then I realised that I could heal myself, and I read a book about the yeast connection and the fact that most of us have prolific growths of unfriendly bacteria in our intestines, and this, it seems, is the root of all our diseases, or for many of them anyway. The actual breakdown of the body's functions to be able to digest and assimilate the food into energy, you know. So I realised I had to do something about what I was eating. After so many visits to the doctors and many visits to the hospitals, and at one stage I was blacking out, even while I was driving. It was always only in a traffic jam, thank God. I was never going along and blacked out, but my body was just slowly shutting down in every way. And the weight loss was quite scary. And you go and have blood tests, and the doctors never say to you, it doesn't look like you're eating very well, because they're used to seeing sick, poorly blood with no nutrients in it, you know. The difference was incredible, because it seems that we overeat. Most of us do overeat. And it's because our body is constantly telling us we're hungry, or we think that's what we're sensing. And really, it's hungry for real nutrition, which we're not getting from the average diet, you know. So I found that once I started eating what was really food, I needed less and less. And the more I ate that was raw and natural, the less food I needed. And of course, the less food you eat, the more your bodies will last longer, because they're not being worked as hard. So you increase your life if you eat less food. I just love being full of nature, being in nature. And I'm soon about to learn how to grow my own nature. Be self-sufficient. Anyone, if I can give anyone any advice if they're feeling down, just look to what you put in your body. Start to love yourself and your body. This is the answer. I know that if everybody lived on just fruit and vegetables since the day they were born, they would neither have disease and they would neither age the way we think of aging. It's true. People say, oh, it's too expensive, but it's not too expensive, you know? The goats love these. Feed these to the goats, they go crazy.
Well, they know something that we should know, right?
Yeah, to eat nature.
Yeah. The greens. I agree, it's worth it.
It's so beautiful. How come people can live without being surrounded by this? Why is it that we can live without it, you know?
Yeah.
It's really sad.
Yeah. Well, we're getting back to that.
Yeah, everyone's going back to the trees and leaving the cities, I hope. Want to sit
maybe we
down?
can walk
Yeah.
through here a little bit.
Yes, I loved fast cars, and I loved the fashion industry and the TV industry and the film industry, basically. I loved being around it. Yes, it was good. And then I was doing rather well, actually, like, you know, when the checks overlap, you know, the agencies are sending you for things and you're too busy and things like that. I'll have another job. Well, it got to that stage, and then I fell really ill. So my profession had to... Well, I had many different illnesses, like frequent migraines and bad stomach aches and
What else do you have? Such beautiful flowers. It doesn't take much effort.
I know, you just
And
got to
can
want to
grow
do
a lot
it. You've got to want to be self-sufficient, you know, and go out to the garden, get your breakfast.
Yeah,
You know?
just pick it off the tree.
Just go to the garden and get lunch, and it seem so natural though, just to do that.
So many varieties of fruit and vegetables that we can just grow and eat
I
and
know.
enjoy. And
It becomes a way of life instead of a diet.
yeah,
You know?
Yeah, and you're
This is
getting
the
the
beauty.
exercise by being out in the garden.
Yes. My name is Anne Cuthbertson. I'm 32.
And what had been your profession years ago?
Done many things. But I suppose for the longest time I was modelling and doing extra work and fashion shows and commercials and music videos.
So you had a very fast lifestyle, didn't you?
Yeah, and like a year before I had to completely stop working, I had been diagnosed with cervical cancer, and they gave me laser surgery, and it came back again. So like a year later I had it again. So that was no good. But there was many things. I suppose the migraines and weight loss were the worst ones, as well as just the most chronic stomach aches and terrible pains.
Very inspirational to talk about organic food today in an environment like this.
And it is worth the money, you know?